All right, today we are going to be talking about 8.3b, multiplying binomials. This is our day 2 of this. If you would, like always, please fill in your objective. Yesterday, we learned how to multiply two binomials, and today we are going to be multiplying a binomial by a trinomial. Today, we're going to review what we did yesterday. What we did yesterday is we multiplied two binomials. And the way we did that, we used an acronym. We used FOIL, which remember stands for first, outside, inside, last. Reminder, we use this to help us multiply a binomial times a binomial. Now, if you do not feel comfortable with foiling, you can always just use the distributive property, but I think we will be talking about foiling a lot more. Now, today, when we are going to be multiplying a binomial by a trinomial, we cannot use the FOIL method. Because the FOIL method is for a binomial times a binomial, and we are multiplying a binomial to a trinomial. So that's why we are not able to use that method. Instead, for this, we have to use the distributive property. And we have been using that throughout chapter 8. And so that shouldn't be too crazy and new. So what we do to multiply a binomial to a trinomial, we have to use the distributive properties. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply this 3x to everything inside this other parentheses. So when I do that, I'm going to take 3x times x squared, and I'm going to get 3x to the third. I'm also going to multiply this 3x to this 4x, and I'm going to get plus 12x squared. And then I'm also going to multiply this 3x, this negative 1, and I'm going to multiply, I'm going to get negative 3x. Okay, so now we have multiplied that first part, so that is done. But now we also have to multiply this negative 2. So now this negative 2 has to be multiplied to everything. And how I like to do this, I like to align it so that when I multiply it, it lines up down here. Because then my last step is I have to combine like terms. So I'm going to multiply this negative 2 to this x squared. When I do that, I'm going to get negative 2x squared. And again, you can see I lined up that I have my x squareds together. I then am multiplying this negative 2 to the 4x. So I'm going to get plus, no, I'm not going to get plus, I'm going to get minus 8x. Watch out for those positive and negatives. And then I have negative 2 times negative 1, and I'm going to now get positive 2. From here now, we do have to combine like terms. So I'm going to combine all my like terms. So I see I have 3x to the third. That's the only one I have, so I'm just going to bring that down. I notice I have positive 12x to the second minus 2x to the second. So now I have positive 10x. I have negative 3x and negative 8x, so altogether that's negative 11x. And then we just have that plus 2, so that will come on down. So this all together is our answer. As you can see, it's a little bit more work than multiplying a binomial times a binomial, but that's because we're multiplying a binomial to a trinomial. So we have that extra term, so we are going to have more to our answer, more work. All right. So again, we have this next one. All right, so we are going to do another problem like this. Again, we have a binomial times a trinomial. So again, we cannot use FOIL. So again, I'm going to distribute this y to everything. So I'm going to distribute this y to this 2y to the second, this negative y, and to this 6. So when I multiply this y to this 2y squared, I'm now going to have 2y to the third. When I multiply the y to the negative y, since I have y times y, I'm going to have negative y squared. And when I take this y and I multiply it to the 6, I'm now going to have plus 6y. I'm now done with that y, so now I have to multiply that negative 3. And remember that negative goes with it. And again, we're going to multiply it to everything. And I'm going to line up all of my stuff. So when I multiply this negative 3 to the 2y squared, I now have negative 6y squared. And again, I'm going to put that under my y squared since they go together. I have negative 3. I want to multiply it to negative 1. So now I have plus 3y since we have a negative times a negative. I then am going to multiply that negative 3 to that 6. So I have negative 18. From here now, we are going to combine all of our like terms. I have 2y to the third. That's the only one I have, so I'm just going to bring that on down. I have 2y to the third. I have negative 1y squared and negative 6y squared. So altogether, I have negative 7y squared. And I have 6y plus 3y, so that is going to give us 9y. And then that 18 is on its own, so I have negative 18. And that is our answer. Again, reminder, we're putting all of our like terms and we are going from highest to lowest in our degree. That's how we know we have simplified correctly. This next problem, we do have a word problem here. And so reminder, whenever with word problems, I think it is always best to draw a picture for us. So it says you want to create a border of a length of x around a rectangle. So I'm going to draw that right away. I know I have a rectangle and I want to put a border around it. So kind of exactly how it sounds. I want to put a border around it. Oop, I'm over that word. And this border has a length of x. And reminder, that's everywhere. So there's a border here, there's a border here, and there's a border here. So it's going all the way around because that's how borders work. And it says our rectangle is 50 by 20. So this side here is 50 and this side here is 20. Okay, and it is telling us to write a simplified expression for the area of the park, which includes the border x. And reminder, area, we find that by taking length times width. So now if I am looking at my length here, so if I'm going all the way across from here to here, so I have my original 50, but now I have this border, so I've added these x's to my side. So really my length now is 50 plus x plus x. But we are algebra students, so we should make that look better. What we really have is 50 plus, and since I have x plus x, I now have plus 2x. I then have my width. So that's now all the way across here. And again, I have this 20 plus this x and this other x. So again, what we really have is 20 plus x plus x. But again, we're algebra students, so that's not really how we would show that. We'd say 20 plus 2x. So those are our new dimensions, our new side lengths. It then says we have to find area. And as we already talked about, to find area, we do length times width. So my length is this 50 plus 2x, and we have that 20 plus 2x for our width. So I'm going to take those two and I'm going to multiply them. So I have 50 plus 2x, and I'm going to multiply that by 20 plus 2x. Now, since we have a binomial times a binomial, we can use our FOIL property that we used. So reminder, we're going to go first, outside, inside, last. So I'm going to multiply this 50 to this 20. And when we multiply 50 times 20, well, we know 5 times 2 is 10, but we have 2 extra zeros there. So what we have when we take 50 times 20 is we are going to get 1,000. Now I'm going to do outside, so I'm going to multiply this 50 times 2. And so when we take 50 times 2, we're going to get 100. And since we have that x, we're going to have 100x. Inside, I'm going to multiply this 2 times this x. I'm sorry, 2x times 20. And we're going to get 40x. And then our last, so I'm going to multiply this 2x to this 2x. And we are going to get 4x squared. We now need to simplify this, and we also need to just write this better. Right now, this is a terrible order. Our 4x squared should go first, so I'm going to write that down here. So I have 4x squared. Our x's, we need to combine those, so I have 100x plus 40x, so I have plus 140x. And then we have our 1,000, so we'd have plus 1,000. And that is our answer. All right, last problem for us, another shape problem. So we have a cylinder nicely shown in a picture for us there. And it shows us our dimensions shown in the diagram and says which polynomial is in standard form. Reminder, standard form is going from highest degree all the way down to the lowest degree and best describes the surface area. They very nicely gave us the equation for surface area that's going to make this go a lot faster for us. So what that means then, I'm just going to plug in the information they gave us. I see here there's an R, and our R is this right here on our diagram. So what that means is I have 2 pi, and I'm going to have x plus 1 squared. We then have plus 2 pi, and again, they give us an r, so r is going to be x plus 1, and our height is this right here, so we're going to have x plus 4. If I'm comparing this, what we just got, to all of our answers, I can see we're nowhere close, so this tells us we have a ton of simplifying to do. First thing, we have x plus 1 squared. Now, if you are thinking of distributing this negative, or I'm sorry, not negative, if you're thinking of distributing this exponent, that will make Bayles very sad. That does not mean that. When you have x plus 1 squared, what that means is you have 2 of them. It means you have x plus 1, x plus 1. And because we have it written like that, that now means we have a binomial times a binomial. So that means we can FOIL. And then also we should notice we have a binomial here as well, 2 binomials, so that means we can FOIL those. These 2 pi's in front, we're going to ignore those for a little bit. We'll deal with those later. So now I have 2 pi, and now we're going to FOIL. So we have x times x, so that gives us x squared. We have x times 1, so that will give us plus x. I have 1 times x, so I'm going to have plus x. And then we have 1 times 1, so I'm going to have plus 1. We're going to do the same thing over here. I have this 2 pi still. So over here, I have x times x, so that will give us x squared. I'm going to multiply this x to this 4, so I have plus 4x. This 1 times x, so I have plus x. And then this 1 times 4, so we have plus 4. From here now, we should notice we have these 2 pi's. So that means we need to distribute these. Actually, no, we have to simplify. We have some simplifications we need to do first. And so now what we're going to have is we're going to have x squared plus 2x plus 1. And over here we have x squared plus 5x plus 4. So I just simplified our x's. Now if I'm noticing, all of these are being multiplied by 2 pi. So I'm actually going to take this whole thing And we do have this plus sign. That's just going to come on down there. And we are going to multiply all of this by 2 pi. So the 2 pi is going to go there, to our x squared, to our 2x, to our 1, and to all of this stuff over here. We're going to multiply by 2 pi to everything. So when I do that now, I have 2 pi x squared. Now when I multiply it here to this 2x, we're going to multiply the two front numbers, our coefficients. So I have 2 times 2, which gives us plus 4. And then our pi is just going to tack on there, and so is the x. And then when I take that 2 pi and I multiply it to this 1, I'm just going to have plus 2 pi. And same concept over here. When we multiply the 2 pi to all of this stuff here, now I'm going to have 2 pi x squared. And again, we're going to multiply our coefficients. So I have 2 times 5, so I'm going to have plus 10 pi x. Oh my gosh, I might run out of room, guys. And I have 2 pi times 4, so I'm going to have plus 8 pi. Now from here, we're going to get everything that are like terms together. I notice that I have our 2 pi's that are 2 pi x squared. That's going to go with our 2 pi x squared. So altogether, we are going to have 4 pi x squared. And again, we're just leaving pi. We don't want to make it a crazy number. We then have 4 pi x that is going to go with that. This 4 pi x is going to go with this 10 pi x, which is altogether going to give us 14 pi x. And then we have our 2 pi's and our 8 pi's, so altogether we have 10 pi's. That is our final answer. We don't want to simplify it anymore, so that is what we're going to leave it as. And if we're looking at here, there is an answer that looks like that. That is C, so you can circle C. All right, once you are done listening to this video, reminder, you can go back and listen to it at any time you want, and make sure you summarize and that you rate yourself on how you feel you are doing with this concept. And thank you for listening.